And I literally said that all my last year of uni. Like, it is what it is, player. Like, it is what it is, player. But then I thought, like, what's he talking? It's only, again, that was just saying, that's like a quote. It is what it is. But what does that really mean? It means it is what it is. You cannot control the uncontrollables. It is what it is. No matter how much you moan and control, no matter how much you moan about it, you can't do anything about it. Please give all your time, energy, and effort into moaning about it, but see where it gets you. Because just like when we spoke about the Victim Mindset podcast, you can moan, you can beat on the victim drum, this isn't fair, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it's happened. That is the situation. It has happened. It is what it is. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to another episode of the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of you. And today it's me again. I bet you guys are sick to the back teeth of me. No, I'm only joking. I love doing these. Like when it's just me by myself, I genuinely, absolutely love them because it just allows me to get into a real flow state. And if you're new to the podcast, there's sort of three main podcasts that we do. We've got ones where it's just me by myself talking, and that's just me trying to impart some wisdom on things that I've gone through or that I'm learning or that I've helped my clients with for the week that's gone on. We've got one where it's me and Mikey. Mikey is the videographer, so you see him in the background in a minute. So I've got Mikey and Katie, two members of my team in the background. So me and Mikey just talk about just general things in life. So just two guys talking about mental health, going through our experiences. And again, they're really, really powerful episodes because in no way, shape or form do we know what we're going to talk about. We literally just like meet up, what we're going to talk about, cool, let's go. So again, there's no sort of planning involved in that at all. So again, it's very, very natural and sort of free flowing. And then the final kind of episode that we've got is when I bring a guest on. So these are people either in the UK, America, all around the world that have gone through some things or they've got some knowledge and information that I know can help you to, again, become the best version of you. So I get them on, we have a really good chat. They impart some wisdom. They either share a story, something they're going through. And again, you can take some real golden nuggets from these episodes. So again, they're the three main episodes that we've got. And I don't run adverts on the podcast. I don't run adverts because for me, it annoys me when I listen to podcasts and I hear adverts, so I try and keep them as pure as possible. But the way that the podcast grows is through you guys and the value exchange. So if you take some value from today's episode, please just do us a solid favor, help us to spread the word and help us to grow the podcast, and just share it with a friend. Again, that could be like a direct message, like, oh, here you go, either stick it on your Instagram or just in general conversation. If you see that someone's struggling, and you heard an episode that you think could help them, just share the episode with them. That's all we ask for. And again, that's only if you think that I do a good job. And also, if you are a long-time listener, again, please give us a 5-star review either on iTunes or iTunes, Apple Podcast now, sorry, Apple Podcast or Spotify. Again, 5-star review, very much appreciated. It helps us go up the rankings and more people will get to see and hear this information. So again, you guys are absolutely awesome. So today's episode is all about how to deal with adversity. So again, topic of something that's been really relevant to me recently, and again, a lot of people right now are struggling with certain things that are going on. So I just wanted to share sort of my thoughts and views on this. And again, I want to start off with a quote. I love starting things off with a quote. I seem to do a lot of things when it comes to quotes. I feel like quotes are very, very powerful. For me, we see stuff on Instagram and we see these quotes and we're like, oh, that's really, really cool. But it's only really when you start to go through this journey and you do a bit of self-discovery and you do a bit of deep work that you actually understand what these quotes really mean. So that saying that I was going to say is smooth seas make for poor sailors. Okay, smooth seas make for poor sailors. So you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, they're a sailor, so they need to practice actually being a good sailor. No. What it's saying is life. Like when life gets rough and turbulent, that is actually what hardens you. That's what makes you really, really good. Because all these challenges that you get when the seas get choppy, again, the seas of life, you might have heard the analogy, the boat analogy I use. Like in life, you're a boat. Like you are a boat, and the life is the sea. So when the sea gets choppy, when life gets all choppy, you have to be able to steer and navigate your boat through life. Because as we spoke about the last episode when I was by myself, and we spoke about the Rubik's Cube and understanding about trying to find balance, when you just understand that life is never, ever going to be balanced, perfectly balanced. And again, if you can just embrace that uncertainty, that is a key thing here. Because again, that's what makes you a good sailor, or it just makes you winning at life. Just embrace that uncertainty. And again, it's just all about learning to ride the waves. So I spoke about this before in another episode, but again, in the sea of life, just learn to ride the waves because everything ebbs and flows. And it like always goes up, it always goes down. And it can feel like we're always rising, we're always falling. But it's important to understand that we're not really ever truly falling. What really happens is we don't actually crash. Like what ends up happening is life likes balance. Like, you can't have the ups without the downs. And the problem is when we get these downs, and I spoke about this on the positivity paradox, it can feel like we go down to rock bottom, but we're not really going down to rock bottom. What's then happening is it's just life just balancing itself out. Saying, okay, if I had all this amazing stuff, let's just have a bit of a chill for a second, and then we're going to build you back up to something better. And what happens is you get bigger waves. So the highs get higher. Then when the waves go up, you still go back down. But again, it's not a problem. So just understand, just like a surfer, learn to ride the waves when they're there, and just understand that they can't last forever. But that then doesn't mean you get pessimistic. So when life's amazing, like, oh my God, it's going to crash. Oh my God, it's going to end. No, I'm not saying that at all. But understand, I had this the other day. It's bizarre. Like I spoke about this, last night on the radio, saying that actually I was driving home from here the other day. And I was like, my life is awesome right now. It's absolutely awesome. And then the next thought that popped in was like, well, it's not going to last. And then the thought that came straight after that was, okay, well, I'm just going to enjoy it while it does last. And that was it. And I carried on driving. So just understanding that I was acknowledging that my life is really, really good. And I found this new flow state recently. Like everything's like seemed to have revved up. Everything's going amazing. I was like, I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then I acknowledged the thought that popped up. It was just like, yeah, but it's not going to last. That's a factual thing. That's not being negative or pessimistic. It is not going to last. Now, again, that doesn't mean it's not going to keep getting better, because I don't know where this wave is. The wave could still be building up. But what I'm saying is that, okay, well, at some point, don't get too complacent here, because what ends up happening is you get complacent, you think, I'm untouchable, and then bam, life smacks you down again. So I was just preparing myself to, like, okay, it's not going to last. And then rather than dwelling on that thought, I then had another thought straight after it to be like, cool, we're just going to enjoy this right now. It was a really powerful moment for me to actually experience all these three thoughts in there, just one after the other, to just understand. I was acknowledging, cool, life's amazing right now, this is great. Then acknowledge, well, it's not going to last, and then re-acknowledge, okay, cool, we enjoy it right now. And then bam, straight back to the present moment, carried on driving, got home and thought, this is amazing. So for me, it's just understanding that it's okay. Like, they come, life ebbs and flows, just like the waves, that's all that happens. And we can feel like we're not in our flow, just like a surfer, and sometimes we're like, what's going on here? Don't worry about it. If you're not in your flow, if you notice things a bit of a rut right now, that's absolutely fine. And that's what I want to talk about here, like this adversity, when you feel like you've had this little bit of a setback, and you're a bit like, what the hell is going on here? Because for me, the first thing you need to do is if you do feel like you're in a bit of a rut, like in this bit of a valley, so the waves come down and you're a bit like, you feel a bit stuck. Something's happened. So you're there on your surfboard, riding the wave, and out of nowhere, a salmon comes and slaps you on the face, and then you fall and crash to the floor. Right, that's where we're at right now. So out of nowhere, this thing has just come out of the water, smacked you around the face, and you're in this bit of a lull. You're like, well, what the hell happened here? And again, you can take some time to be a bit like, well, what on earth's happened here? But the first thing you need to really do is just assess the situation. Just assess as what's actually happened and get a true understanding of what's actually going on and why that's happened. Rather than just assuming things, because we love to do that. We love to assume, we love to make up stories. Just actually get a proper assessment of the situation. And again, this can be really hard to do, by the way. So again, this is one of these episodes where I'm talking about this stuff. And I'm, by the way, I'm literally saying this from stuff I have gone through. I've literally wrote this whole presentation was shared to my clients based off what I've actually gone through. This is what it's all about. So I'm very well aware that I'm saying this stuff. In that moment, it's very hard. And I'm not saying for a single second I did these things perfectly in order, but this is what I did at certain points. Just understanding when things happen, like the first thing, again, when that salmon does come and slap you on the face, like you kind of be a bit disorientated. Like, where the hell did salmon just come from? Like, is there even salmon in the sea? And you'd be like, ah! Like, you get a bit crazy. It's like, ah! You like that, didn't you? Yeah. That salmon. What I'm going to have to do, Mikey, is put the salmon. The salmon was on holiday and I did the salmon into sea. Anyway, I'll have to superimpose that in the background here. It's like, so if you're not watching on Spotify, go on to Spotify or YouTube and you get to see a little video of me on holiday doing a little salmon into the water. Did a salmon into the water, I think it'd be really funny, not realising I did it into a bunch of rocks. And I actually posted it on my Instagram story, and there's a Chemical Brothers song called Sammy the Salmon. If you haven't listened to that, it's just really funny. So I posted it on my Instagram story with Sammy the Salmon. But anyway, what's happened is, when you get slapped by the salmon, it's hard in that moment to be like, oh, well, what's just happened? Because what happened is you're just going to crash down. You're focusing on making sure that you actually have a safe landing. But it's only from that place of, what's gone on here that you can then actually assess. And the goal is to try and get you to assess as quickly as possible so you're not in that lull period for any longer than is necessary. Because again, we love to catastrophize things and make up stories in our head to fit a certain narrative. But this won't help you deal with what's actually gone on. So this salmon's come out of nowhere, and you can create this like catastrophe story about this salmon and to fit this crazy narrative about whatever it is about the salmon's trying to kill you and blah, 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 whatever. Like, you don't know what's gone on. Like, a whole host of things have happened. You don't actually know. And we create this story in our head, and we dramatize it, we catastrophize it, and before we know it, we've wasted 3 months of our life with this whole thing, but we haven't actually understood and assessed what has actually gone on. We've got so inside our heads, catastrophizing something and getting caught up in a story that may not even actually be true. And this is something, again, I mentioned this before in a previous episode. I mentioned it on Mikey's episode as well when I was on his podcast. Like, I've noticed that when I was in that bad depressive headspace and I was not okay, certain stories that I've been telling for ages, I've been telling myself, and now I've really started to question them and be like, what actually happened in these moments? Because what would happen is I wasn't in a good headspace. So again, I was very much in that victim mindset I spoke about. I did a whole podcast on the victim mindset. And again, that is where I spent a lot of my life. But then I realised a lot of these stories and these things that happened, I don't actually understand what really happened because I basically catastrophized them and basically twisted this story to fit this narrative of me being this victim. But it wasn't really the truth. What they need to do is, in these stories or in this situation, whatever has happened, when you're in this lull period, just have a look at yourself. And again, ask yourself, what part of you actually played in this? This right now, hands down, is the most powerful thing that I've learned to do. Taking radical responsibility. Again, it comes from Fleet Maul. I learned about it before Fleet Maul. Fleet Maul really opened my eyes to the power of this. And then Paul Cope took it to a whole nother level. And then on top of that, I've had other things as well. But the key thing, I cannot stress you enough, actually taking responsibility for your life gives you ultimate power. Because when you get stuck in that victim mindset, when you get moaning about things and situations that are completely out of your control, you're giving away your time, energy, effort, and your power. But if you can actually ask yourself, what part have I played in this? It then empowers you because you can then do some stuff about it. But people don't want to do that. But no matter what's happened, there'll be a small part, even if it's just 1% that you played in that, just own your 1%. Because owning that 1% is better than owning 0%. So take responsibility for any part that you played, no matter how small, because this shows real growth and strength of character and can help you bring peace to the situation. If you can be in a situation, no matter how bad, no matter how much this person or this situation, this thing has hurt you, if you can end up in that situation and be like, okay, well, I fully own my responsibility and my part in this, even if they carry on blaming you, you've just said, okay, 10% this is my fault, and they try and make it 100% your fault. That's on them. But for you, you know that you've owned your 10%. You've actually had a proper, honest conversation with yourself. Like, right, no. Right, I've messed up here. Right, how have I messed up? Right, I've messed up here. What have I done about that? Okay, cool, right. I'm sorry for my part I played in this. You let that go. It brings you that peace. If the other person wants to then make this fit their narrative of that everything's 100% your fault when you know it's only 10%, that's on them. That's not your problem. You've owned your part. You've made peace with your part, and then you can actually move on from that situation. And this, by the way, is the single hardest part to do, because in any situation, especially when something or someone or whatever it is has really hurt you and really hit your core, if you can take that responsibility, it is so, so powerful. And again, it took me a long time to do this. It took me actually going to see Paul Cope. I actually drove up to Paul Cope and said, listen, Paul, not in a good headspace right now. Can I come and chat to you? Drove all the way up to Liverpool to have a coffee with this guy, and literally was in that situation. Again, turns out he wasn't in a good place either. So there's two guys having a conversation, having a coffee, having some food, and again, we just hashed it out. We had a conversation, and he put a completely different spin on it, and there's me trying to take a little bit, and he went, have you thought about it this way? I looked at him and I thought, fucking hell. I'm not sworn on the podcast for a while then, but I think that I needed it there, and I just thought, wow. Like your ability to just make me just, again, turn even deeper in myself. I'd already turned in. I'd already looked at myself in the mirror. But he said, no. Just go a little bit deeper. Just ask yourself about this thing here. And I was like, oh. I was like, man, that's good. Because when you can actually then just go a little bit deeper, take even more responsibility, guess what? You take back even more power. That's the key here. You don't want to do it. You don't want to because it's hard because you want to blame the other person. But when you can take even more responsibility, if you can just push a little bit more, you're taking back even more of your power. And that's ultimately what you want. Because you want to move past this. You want to move through this. You don't really want to keep suffering with this. So the more responsibility that you can take, the more you take back your power. Mate, what's wrong? Mate, what is in with these smoothies? Right. By the way, the smoothie ebook is now available. I don't know what's in the smoothies. And then as soon as you can, the key thing here, as soon as you can, analyze the situation and ask yourself, is there anything here that I can control? So this adversity, these things happen, this salmon slapped you in the face, you're now in the back in the sea again. Just ask yourself, right, what here can I actually control? Because that's the key thing. Because there's a lot of things you can't control, but there's always things you can control. You always have a choice. Even the choice to do nothing is a choice. Just think about that. Even the choice to do nothing is still a choice. So there's nothing I can do. Okay, that's a choice. You've chosen to do nothing. There's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can control, even if it's just controlling your reaction to it. That's a bare minimum. Cool. Awesome. It helps you. And then, if there is something you can control that. Control the controllables. But if you can't, then it's important to remind yourself that it shall pass. Life ebbs and flows. That's what it does. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're winning, sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. It is what it is. Once you accept that and just understand this too shall pass, it can bring you that sense of peace. Control the controllables. The things that you can't control, no matter how turbulent and troublesome it is, you will find a way. Because the more that life moves, the more that life's change, that then potentially gives you something that you can control. So in that current situation, you can control the controllables. The things you then can't control, they are what they are. It is what it is and it shall pass. And as it passes, you may see a little gap open up with something that you can then control. But you have to be aware and you have to be open to it. So again, also very, very powerful. It is what it is. The saying is what it is. I first heard that. Absolutely hilarious. I can't remember when it was. I don't think I've ever told anyone this story. Definitely not told on the podcast. So it was when living in America, and me and my Brazilian roommate at the time were walking. We were shopping in California, and there was a security guard in this California shop, and we were just walking out. We were talking about something. I can't remember what it was. We were moaning or complaining about something, and the security guard didn't skip a beat, overheard a conversation, just went, "It is what it is, player," and that was literally it. And I was just like, laughed my head up and thought, "It is what it is, player." I was like, "What on earth?" And I literally said that all my last year of uni. Like, "It is what it is, player." Like, "It is what it is, player." But then I thought, like, what's he talking? It's only again. That was just saying. That's like a quote. It is what it is. What does that really mean? It means it is what it is. You cannot control the uncontrollables. It is what it is. No matter how much you moan and control, no matter how much you moan about it, you can't do anything about it. Please give all your time, energy, and effort into moaning about it, but see where it gets you. Because just like when we spoke about the Victim Mindset podcast, you can moan, you can beat on the victim drum, this isn't fair, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it's happened. That is a situation. It has happened. It is what it is. What are you now going to do about it? How are you then going to respond? How are you then going to show up as the best version of yourself? Which again is what this whole podcast is about. The whole podcast is about. Because adversity is going to happen all the time. Things that are unfair are going to happen all of the time. You cannot control that. All you can do is take control of yourself. It's as simple as that. Don't fight it. Just don't fight it. This isn't the next slide. It's just me just carrying on going on from back. Just don't fight it. So what's that saying? What we resist persists. I learned that ages ago on a mindfulness course. The mindfulness course, the teacher said, what we resist persists. Because again, he's talking about meditation. When you're there meditating and you're trying to just focus on your breathing and then the thought pops in, the more you resist that thought, the more you give that thought energy, the more that thought is not going to disappear. What you resist persists. So again, same with the situation in life. The more you try to resist the reality, it is what it is. The more you try and resist that, that's when problems occur. Just let it be. But then also in a situation now, so again, this adversity, these things happened, take yourself back to other hard times you've had in your life and other storms that you've weathered and come through the other side. Because this is also the problem. When this thing happens, we think this is the worst thing that's ever happened to us. Again, we catastrophize it. But when you take a step back in your life, I can promise you that you've gone through and come through worse things than this. I can categorically promise you. The problem is you just forget about it. And you think this current thing is the worst thing you've gone through. Because I guarantee you, if you're over the age of 20 years old, you have gone through some things in your life. I can categorically promise you that. And as we said, this too shall pass. Just like that other thing you thought wasn't going to pass. Just like that other thing you thought was going to end you. Just like that other thing that you thought was going to bury you. It won't. This too shall pass. And in that current moment, if you can just try and just disassociate yourself, just take yourself away from it, try and remove that emotion from the situation and just realise, right, I've overcome worse than this. And then you put your warrior outfit on. You put your warrior attire on. I'm currently playing a samurai game on PlayStation 5, so I think that's what it's coming from. You put on your samurai gear. Again, I've got Jin Saki up there, so again, I don't think the camera can see it, but anyway, warrior pop head in the background. My point is, if you can put on your warrior uniform and then be like, right, let's go. Because that's the kind of attitude you've got to have with life. Rather than just being like, oh my God, and have that defeatist attitude, roll your sleeves up. Be like, right, let's go. You are not going to defeat me. Let me show you what I'm made of. You change it. You change your energy. Put your energy back inwards. Put the energy back in on yourself. Put your samurai gear on. Put your warrior gear on. And go to war with whatever this thing is. I'm not talking about getting physical or violent or anything like that, but just have that attitude. Right, this thing's trying to cripple me. Let me show you. Let me show you. I'm going to put all my time, energy, effort into me and let me show you what I can do. Let me show you how I can turn this adversity to my advantage. It's very easy to just sit there in a corner and be like, oh, it's and then before you know it, 6 years has passed. Don't allow that to happen. You are stronger than you remember. And then the situation when it comes to this adversity, whatever's happened, again, loads of different things that could have happened. And again, this isn't for a single second. This is what I'm talking about here. Like, there's loads of spectrum of things that could have happened. So again, this is understanding no matter how everything's unique. Like, every situation is situational. So this is just a very genuine overview. Like, it's not case specific. Just re-identify your boundaries. So now this thing's shifted, you're going to have to shift and maybe re-identify and relay down some boundaries. Because this is time right now to actually defend your boundaries at all costs. Because there's going to be certain people that see a time of weakness and want to try and latch onto this and try and push some boundaries and almost kick you while you're down. So it's really important that you actually keep those boundaries up. What are your boundaries? So your boundaries may have shifted from where they were before, but you still have boundaries. So then you reset your boundaries and then you have to defend them at all costs because no one can take away your boundaries. It's really important to stay true to your morals and values. This is one of the key take-homes that I have taken from the last however long it's been. Your morals and values shouldn't be bought. Like, stay true to your word. Be the best version of you, whatever that looks like. You have morals and you have values. Hold yourself to that standard. When other people let their standards slip, don't let your standards slip with them. Hold your morals and hold your values. Always hold them high because, again, no one can judge you but yourself. You know the truth, and the truth is the truth whether you like it or not. So hold yourself to those standards and morals. Don't worry about what people are saying because the truth will always come out. As long as you know morally and from your values, as long as your values are aligned and morally you've done the right thing, that is fine. And again, also in your intentions. What are your intentions? Are your intentions good? Are your intentions pure? Because sometimes you have the purest intentions ever and things don't quite go right. But as long as you know deep down your intentions were good, your intentions were good for everybody and everyone makes mistakes. So maybe you have done something and maybe it is bad. But if your intentions were good, your intentions were pure and it didn't quite work out that way, people will understand that. They may be hurt from it, you may be hurt from it, but over time, again, it shall pass, and people will realise that you were doing with the best information, you were doing the best with the information that you had. That's all that anyone can really ask for. But understand, when you're trying to defend and set these boundaries and basically trying to defend your morals and values and stand up for yourself, it's going to cause some friction. But it's important to lean into it. Now, there's a really famous quote, Mikey, I'm going to ask you here, who said this? Do what is right, not what is easy. Close. It's actually, better. It's actually from Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore. So again, it's so let me say that quote again. Do what is right, not what is easy. So again, it's from the latest Harry Potter, the Legends of Dumbledore. They're both kick ass. So again, there you go. So Dumbledore said that. Do what is right, not what is easy. So again, J.K. Rowling. Again, real powerful quote there. Do what is right, not what is easy. Really, really powerful. And again, if it gets too much, which sometimes it can do, understand that is absolutely okay. Because you may be grieving. It may be other things. But this is a big thing for me that, again, I spoke about multiple times. I was actually grieving the loss of a lot of things I didn't even realise. The loss of a lot of things I didn't realise. The loss of ideas. The loss of a future that I created that wasn't even reality. The loss of so many things I didn't realise. The loss of a safe space. So maybe just give yourself a bit of time. If it does become too much, it's okay. And again, it's okay not to be okay. So I'm not, for a single second when adversity hits, telling you to just suppress and repress all these things. I'm not telling you that at all. But what I don't want you to do is get stuck in this victim mindset for any longer than is necessary. I don't want you to get stuck in this negative loop because it's a very dark place. But it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay for you to set that boundary to be like, right, I'm really not okay. And I'm going to give myself the next 3 weeks to not be okay. And then I'm going to move on, which is exactly what I did, by the way. I set myself a time frame and be like, I am not okay. And I'm not going to be okay for the next X amount of days. I genuinely think it was 3 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks. Can't remember when it was. Was it 2 weeks? I can't remember. It was 2 weeks. I set myself a time period. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And that was it. So I allowed myself to be in this darkishy place. I allowed myself to not be okay for those 2 weeks. Then after that, right. How am I going to climb out of this situation? And that's exactly what I did. One step at a time, one day at a time. It's just what I talk about. Just win the day. If you can't win the day, win the hour. If you can't win the hour, just win the next 5 minutes. And that's all I did. But I gave myself 2 weeks to be like, right, I'm not okay here. And it's okay not to be okay. For the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to be meh. That's exactly what I did. But then go back to basics. So then all I started to do was get my board, write down 3 things I'm going to do today. could just win the day. Because if you win the day, you win the week, you win the week, you win the month, you win the month, you win the year. It starts by winning the day. So there's me trying to just basically completely rechange my life again and get myself back to where I was again, understanding that's completely unrealistic. There's things you've got to do to get that outcome, cause and effect. So I wanted the effect, which was to go back to how I was. Okay, well, certain causes that lead to that. So that's what I did, made a list. Because it gave me some purpose. And then with the purpose came some passion. It reignited my passion again. I started to get passionate about what I was doing. Again, if you listen to BBC Radio Nottingham, The Circle of Men, my passion came back. Again, if you listen to me on the podcast, my passion's come back. Like, again, my whole mannerism, my whole body language changed. When you see me in person, everything changes. Because passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. That's from Oprah Winfrey. Passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. And this stuff excites me. I absolutely love my job and I love my life. There's an amazing song by Bring Me the Horizon and Sigrid. If you haven't heard it, it says, it's just a bad day, not a bad life. If you haven't heard that song, I strongly recommend you listen to it. It's just a bad day, not a bad life. And that's all that it is right now. If you're struggling to win the day, understand it's just a bad day. It's just a bad day. And it may be 2 bad days, 3 bad days, 4 bad days, 5, 6, 7, 25, 30 bad days. But it's not a bad life. And again, understand adversity and setbacks are all part of life, and it doesn't get easier. You just get better equipped to deal with them. You level up. Using that Mario example where me and Mike were talking about, I think it's me and Mike were talking about it, like they're leveling up with Mario. You complete that level of Mario, you learn some skills, you think it's going to get easier. No, understand, every single time when you level up, the bosses get harder. The little tricksters get harder. The game gets faster, goes at a higher pace because you've now equipped to deal with it. And that's okay. Understand, learn to deal with that. And then when you come out of the other side, ask yourself, what have you learnt from this experience? What have you actually learnt from this experience? The key thing that you probably would have learned, hopefully, is to back yourself. Because at every stage of this situation, you have to have your own back. Because if there's no one else there, who else do you really have? Just you. Back yourself. But reach out if it does get too much. Have those good friends around you. I spoke about this before. I'm pretty sure it was on a podcast back in the day with Heather. Understanding, have those people around you. The people around you that you can actually lean on, that you can actually trust. And then you start to open up. Again, Mikey and Katie were the 2 people I was leaning on, I was opening up to. They're literally the 2 people I was opening up to. No one else really knew. But again, reach out to people that actually get it. But some useful hacks for you. So if you are feeling with adversity, I've got some useful hacks for you to actually help you with this. Hack number 1. Now again, some of this may seem quite simple, but I'm actually going to explain the science behind this as well. So get a good night's sleep. Listen to some upbeat music and complete some small tasks. Again, just win the day. Because all of these things release something called dopamine, which is a feel-good neurotransmitter. So again, if you don't know what neurotransmitters are, they're basically things within the brain that basically help you do what you do. You then got hack number 2, which is get some sunlight, go for a walk, and do some cardio. Along with doing some cardio, you can also meditate, which again is something that a few key things that I do all of the time. But again, I kind of stopped doing. So all of these things here actually release something called serotonin. So again, people that don't know what serotonin is a mood stabilizer that improves sleep, reduces anxiety, and increases happiness. Again, going for a walk, get some sunshine, a bit of meditation, get that serotonin going. Number 3, eat some dark chocolate. Again, some dark chocolate, not smashing bars and bars and bars. Do some exercise, watch some comedy, and burn some essential oils. This then stimulates endorphins, which is the brain's natural painkiller, which helps reduce stress and increase pleasure. And finally, number 4, pet your dog or cat, or go and pet a dog and cat. Obviously, don't randomly just walk in someone's house and start petting an animal. It's a bit weird and strange. But again, go and pet a dog or a cat. Hold hands with someone and just give someone a hug. Because all of this releases oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, which releases when you feel a connection with people. So all 4 of these hacks here, what you're doing is you're tapping into all of these pathways of the brain: serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. All of these things are going to help you to win the day. They're going to help get your brain and the chemicals on your side. And a lot of these things here, if you actually go back and look at some of these, especially number 4, the oxytocin, the bonding hormone, we haven't been able to have physical touch with people for a long time, or having hugs and cuddles with people. A lot of these things we've not been able to do. But all of these things are going to help you refill your cup and help you, again, mentally just get your brain back on your side. Small little steps you can do. So again, if the days look dark, just pick one of the 4 things from each of the things. All these hacks here, just pick one of the 4 things that you can do. So again, maybe you go and give someone a hug. Maybe you do some exercise. Maybe you go for a walk. And then the last thing you could do is get a good night's sleep. Straight away, you've hacked all of those things there, and that's going to help you, again, just win the day, which is ultimately all I want for you guys, just to win the day, just to get yourself to that place where you're content and happy and able to do what you want to do. I absolutely love you guys. If you took any value from today's episode, please don't forget to like and share with a friend. Help us to spread the word to help as many people as possible. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.